Good morning everyone. Welcome back to day 7 of our PowerShell learning series. So in the previous session we discussed PowerShell providers. In this session we'll talk about variables and data types. Before we start, let me ask you a simple question. Imagine you are creating a script to monitor 100 servers. So would you hard code every server name in the repeatedly throughout the script? Of course not. So you would store the server names somewhere and reuse it whenever needed. That's exactly why variable existed. So variables are one of the most important concept in any scripting language. Without variables, there is no automation, no loops, no conditions, and no reusable scripts. So today's session is extremely important because going forward, almost every PowerShell script you are writing from now on will use variables. In this session, you will learn what variables are and why they are used, when they are used, how to create and how to modify the variables, how to store different types of data, and how to use strings, integers, array, and objects in PowerShell. Just take a small example. So if you are taking a water bottle, so what it is storing? It is storing some water. So water bottle is a container where it is storing water. Likewise, here variable is a named storage location to store some data. Okay, so it is also like a container to store the data. So it allows us to store values and reuse them in the script wherever we need. In PowerShell, all variables start with $symbol. Okay, in PowerShell, all the variables in PowerShell script, wherever you see $symbol, that is a variable. So it start with $symbol. So for example, I wanted to store my name into a variable. You can declare a variable as $name. Make sure the variable name should be clear and very much understanding. Okay, like you can also store age, date of birth, path, whatever you need. You can store some value into the variable. Okay, so variable, so it is created when you assign to a value to it. Whenever we assign some value to the variable, then only it will be created in the background. Okay, for example, I am assigning my name to a name variable, then only variable will be created. So in simple words, PowerShell automatically creates the variable when it sees the assignment value. When it sees the assignment value, then only PowerShell is automatically creating a variable. Once you assign the value, the variable name it stores, the variable stores the value. Then you can retrieve wherever you need and you can reuse wherever you need, how many times you need, wherever the script you wanted to, you can use it. Later, if you want to update, if you want to modify the variable, so for example, initially my name, I stored a Ravi, my name in some $name variable. Okay, later I wanted to modify, instead of Ravi, I want to keep Ravi Shekhar into my name variable. Then I can simply update $name inside the double quotes. I can mention the new value. Here you need to remember PowerShell always uses the latest value. PowerShell always uses the latest value which is stored in the variable. If you want to see the variables, if you want to see the value which is assigned to the variable, you can type simply the variable name, hit enter, then you can see what value it is assigned to, The alternate way is, if you want to print, if you want to see the value which is assigned to the variable, you can use write output or write host and then followed by your variable name, then you can see the value which is assigned to the variable. Yes, we'll see a small example how we can create a variable, how we can see the variables, we can see it. So by default, whenever you type a variable, it will not be created. So when it will be created, when you are assigning a value. For example, I am assigning a value. So here Ravi is my name. I am assigning this value to $name variable. So when you hit enter, the value is assigned to a variable and the PowerShell is automatically creating when we assign the value. If I want to see what value it is assigned, then what I will do is I will enter $name, hit enter, then you can see what value it is assigned to that variable. So if you want to see also, you can also use write output and followed by name, then you can see the name, the value which is assigned to the value. Other way, write host, you can also use, then you can see the name. I wanted to print in a different way. For example, write host, what I'll do is welcome Ravi. You can see write host welcome Ravi. So simply this is how you can see the value which is assigned to the variable. Now what I will do is I will update the value. Okay. So for now my variable is having the value of Ravi. So what I will do is now I am updating the value to Ravi Shekhar. Okay. So Ravi Shekhar. Okay. Then I hit enter. So when I type name, what I told you, so when we want to see the value, always PowerShell is retrieving all the latest information which is stored in the value. Instead of Ravi, now you will get Ravi Shekhar. Okay. So likewise, welcome Ravi Shekhar. Okay. So as I mentioned, PowerShell is always retrieving the latest value information which is stored in the variable, Likewise, you can also get the path information or anything, you can get it. For example, what I will do is I will pass folder as documents. Okay. So I assign document value to the folder. Now I wanted to see the list of items, get child item, then followed by folder, then what you are expecting. So as we can see earlier, get child item is retrieving all the list of files and folders information, right? So the same way, so we are getting all the files and folders, the path which we assign to the folder variable. Okay, this is how we can manage the values and variables. If you want to remove the value, also, you can use it. For example, what I will do is you can clear the value and you can clear the variable as well. Clear value means whatever the value which is assigned. For example, Ravi Shekhar is assigned to name variable. I wanted to clear the value. I wanted to clear the Ravi Shekhar. Then I can use clear variable. If I want to completely remove the variable, then I can use remove variable. Be clear. Are you removing value or are you removing variable? If you want to removing the value, if you want to clear the value, you can use clear variable. It is just clearing the value which is assigned to it. Remove variable, it is completely deleting. Remove, as we discussed earlier, remove is to delete. Remove item, delete file. Remove variable, delete the variable. So we'll see how it is going to be. For example, what I will do is before clearing the value or before removing the variable, I wanted to see the list of variables. What I will do is, I wanted to retrieve the variables. So variable is an object. So I am retrieving the whatever the object, whatever the variables which are created, right? So to retrieve the information, what verb we need to use? Get. So get variable is retrieving all the variables which are currently created. If you can see here, what values we have created. Folder, it is created as a documents, right? And what else we have created? Name also we have created name, and we have assigned the value to Ravi Shekhar. Just remember this one, we assigned Ravi Shekhar value to name, right? So what I wanted to do is, now I wanted to clear the variable. What variable? I am creating the variable of name. So what it is doing, we assign Ravi Shekhar as a value, right? So what it will do is it will clear the value. So now if I execute get variable again, now you can see variable is available, but the value is cleared. The value is cleared. If you want to remove the variable, what you can do is remove variable, and you can type name. The variable also, sorry, the spell mistake, remove variable, then the variable name itself, it is also deleted. Now you can see there is no variable with name called name, right? Likewise you can also, what I will do is remove variable and folder. So folder also deleted. So if I execute, earlier you have seen folder as a variable, but now you don't see that variable, right? So this is how we can clear the values and we can remove the variables as well. As I mentioned, if you want to see the list of variables, you can use get variable, so which is useful for debugging and learning purpose. So we can understand what variables are created, what value it is assigned to, and how to clear the value, how to remove the variable. So far we have learned this, right? How to print the value and all we have seen so far. So the next very important is data types, because we are assigning some value to the variable. So when we are assigning a value, what type of value, what type of data that we are assigning to a variable is very important. So here, so what is data type? What is data type? A data type defines what kind of value a variable can store. Okay, so here we have, as we all know, we have a different type of data types: text, whole numbers, decimal numbers, boolean, and arrays, objects. We have many things, strings, right? So integers, we have multiple things, right? So PowerShell automatically assigns a data type unless you specify it. So if you didn't specify any data type, automatically it will assign the data type. Automatically PowerShell itself, it will assign the data type. So first one we'll talk about strings. A string is a text enclosed in quotations. So earlier I have stored my name. My name is a string. It's a character set. So it is a string. We enclosed my name with double quotation. In PowerShell or in any way, so always the string is enclosed with double quotations, right? String can contain letters, numbers, or symbols also. When it comes to the integers, it is allowing only whole numbers, no decimal numbers. It is allowing only whole numbers, 30, 100, 10, 20, something like that. When it comes to the arrays, very most frequently used concept, arrays, we will be using arrays in our upcoming sessions as well. So arrays stores multiple values in one variable. We can store multiple values. For example, here as I showing, as you can see in the screen, red, blue, green. I am assigning multiple values into a single variable, that is nothing but array. Likewise, you can in reality you can say $servers equal to server 1, server 2, server 3. Like that you can assign multiple servers into a single array. But here the challenge is, whenever you are trying to access a value which is already assigned to a array, then you need to start with index 0. So for example, here in the as per the screen you can see here colors of 0. The first value is red. The index start with 0. The next one is 1. It is the blue is assigned to the second index, right? Likewise, in the servers, if you, for example, $servers equal to, okay, $servers equal to server 1, server 2, server 3. Whenever you are trying to access the first server, you need to mention servers within the square brackets. You need to mention 0, because arrays index starts with 0. Arrays, the starting index starts with 0. Okay. So the next important concept is the important data type is object. Since from very beginning we discussing about these objects. PowerShell is works with objects, not the plain text. This is the first point we discussed in the first session, right? For example, I wanted to store all the process information inside a variable. You can get the variable. You can store all the process information one variable, because here process contains many properties. Here process contains many properties: name, id, memory usage, status and all. But objects allows powerful automation. Here we'll see in the upcoming sessions, no worries, but you need to understand what are the different data types it is supporting, how we are assigning the value, that you need to understand. Here you need to understand one main thing. So already a few DBAs are having some basic knowledge about the PowerShell, but I am mainly focusing on who is not having at least any basic knowledge, who is not having any skill set on PowerShell. I am targeting those people only. Okay, whoever is already comfortable with arrays, names, variables, data types, they can just watch it once. But whoever is not know about this PowerShell, make sure write a note, then you will clearly understand this concept. Okay, so the next one is declaring a data type explicitly. So what you can do is, if you don't declare a data type, by default PowerShell itself it is assigning a data type. But if you want to assign the value explicitly, then you can use explicitly by mentioning string name equal to John, or if it is an integer, you are forcibly assigning a data type to that particular variable. Then you can use string, int, something like that you can mention. If you want to store the string array of information, then you can mention string, and names you can mention all these things. This is useful for preventing errors in the scripts. So I'll take a small example here. So simple message combining string and variable. Okay, I wanted to combine the string value and the variable value. So here I have used name, and the course I have mentioned as PowerShell basics. I just mentioned I'm combining these two variables. I'm just combining these two variables. Here hello is a string and name is a variable. Here I'm combining string and variable. So as I mentioned, always string is enclosed with double quotation. Within the double quotations, I have mentioned the variable as well. So here it is a combination of string and variables. It shows how string and variable combine. So likewise, we can also use for computers using arrays also. You can store all the servers information, server 1, server 2, server 3, and you can mention for each loop, then $PC in computers write output checking status of PC. Then it's like a real example in the scripts what we use in daily for monitoring or collecting the information. This is what we do. Okay, so in the upcoming scripts we'll talk about this one, no issues. Okay, or else what I'll do is I'll take a small example for this. I'll type a small command. What I'll do is, okay, yep, so I have a ready script in my hand. So here I'm assigning, whenever you execute this one, before this I'm clearing this session. So you can see checking status of PC1, checking status of PC2, PC3. Likewise, you can see all the status. This is how you can execute, but later we'll talk about the loops and all. This is just an example. Okay. So if you want to work with objects, and you can get all the services, and you can get the first service name. You can get the first service name as well. Okay, so I'll do one thing, checking here. What you can do is, here I'll take a new session, and here I'm clearing the session. Here what it is doing, so we are collecting all the service information, and we are storing this value into a variable name called service, and then followed by whatever we are getting, it is picking up the first object. We'll see what it is getting. Then dollar service, then see what service it is fetching. It is only the first service. It starts with A. Okay, this is the first service which is stored currently here. Or else if you remove this one, then you will get all the service information. Okay, then you can see all the services information. You just executed dollar service, but in dollar service what values we are assigned? We are assigned all the services information, right? This is how we can assign, we can call the values, and we can store it in the variable, and wherever we need, and we can access it. Here it is showing all the object properties as well. For example, when we execute this one, right? So for example, this one, right? So I am keeping it as it is, clearing this session. So here what it is having, usually service get service is having name and id, everything, right? So what I will do is, so first service, okay, service dot name. Okay, so when I type name, then it I can only get the name only. Okay, so likewise you can get the id and the usage information, and also you can get it service type, and you can see the status as well. Okay, so the best practice to understand these variables and data types is, you should be very clear when you are creating a variable. Instead of username, don't mention u, because other people can't understand what is $u. So make sure your variable should be clearly and readable and understandable, and you can store one type of data per variable. You can store one type of data per variable, and wherever you need, you can use arrays for list of values, and also avoid unnecessary variable creation. Okay, and then at last, what we discussed in this series led what variables are and how to use them, and created and how to modify the variables, and we have also seen understand the strings, how we can assign the values into strings, integers, arrays and objects, and we have seen few real world examples as well. But as I mentioned from the day one, starts with at least 1 or 2 commands per day. So it best practices for scripting. From now on, we'll use variables in every PowerShell session. Okay. So going forward, we'll talk about more things in this concept. Okay. So be prepared and get ready. If you have any comments or anything, just mention in the comments. So we'll take it forward. Thank you.